Hello, everyone. I thought I would talk about some of the problems I'm running into with editing. Well, I would say my most common problem that I've run into, in actuality, my most common problem, which this can be taken care of with narration software, which I'm using, is, words being left out like of, the, things like that. But those are things that the narration software catches that my eye sometimes doesn't catch. And then, so that can be taken care of relatively easily. But probably my most common problem, other than that, is trying to get my tenses consistent because this is the first book that I've written entirely in first person, and it's first person past tense. However, because first person is far more conversational in terms of narration style than third person is, and often characters will state their opinions about how they feel about things that are happening in the story, and sometimes it feels far more natural. Sometimes when you're writing a first person story for the characters to suddenly be they're speaking in past tense, now they suddenly slide into present tense. It feels far more natural to do that than in third person, and sometimes that can make the speech a little inconsistent. And so I'm trying to figure out how to harmonize that. And my general rule of thumb is that if a character is describing something that's actually happening physically in the story, then it's past tense. If they're making a general statement about the world, then that will be in present tense. For example, my heart longed for a summer that belonged only to dreams. Now that's in past tense because you're talking about how she feels in the context of the story. But now I switch to present tense when I go, it is the season we see when the light of the world fails and sleep becomes a sacred surrender. There veils of Arcady glisten, and night, the clandestine spectre of nature, sings as though it were redeemed by the hand of God. We reach towards the past, longing for the moment when yesterday's kiss ripens into tomorrow's bliss. And so that's more of a general statement, whereas the first sentence that leads into it is about how she feels in the story, whereas the other passages are more about the world generally. But it can be difficult, though. The gray areas when characters, though, are describing how they feel about something. It's not something that's physically happening in the story because sometimes it seems more natural for them to say it in present tense, even though it may be in the context of something they're reacting to in the story. I've tried more and more to make those statements because originally this sentence was my heart longs for a summer that belongs only to dreams, but I feel that because she's stating that within the context of the story, that it's better to make that past, and then the rest is a general statement. So I'm going to make that present, and so that's the way I've been editing. But yeah, the gray area though is when they're reacting to how they feel emotionally about something, because sometimes it feels more natural to say it and to write it in present tense, even though it may not make sense in terms of the context of the story or the passage, for them to suddenly go into present tense when their emotion is has something to do with how they're with has to do with how they're reacting in the scene to something that is happening in the past. And so, again, I'm trying to make general statements about the world present tense, but when it comes to how a character feels emotionally or how or general state. I'm trying to. I'm trying to. When it comes to how characters are feeling emotionally or things that are happening in the scene, I'm trying to make that past tense. However, I'm sure that there are patches here and there where a character says something in present tense that I'm going to miss, or that I am going to miss in this first rough edit, because it happens quite frequently throughout the story, and so that could present an issue later down the line. But again, it's harder though when it comes to first person to get your tenses correct, because it sometimes it because when we speak in everyday life, we go back and forth between past and present tense, and so and first person is far more conversational in that manner. And so that's what I'm struggling with right now, is trying to harmonize the tenses